What's up? My name is Glueboy. Welcome back to the channel where we're going over more 40k. Today, we got a real fun topic. We talked about the Thousand Suns last week, so what is a better time to talk about the Space Wolves, and more importantly, Leman Russ. Now, Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves, an absolute badass of a character, a big space Viking, obsessed with wolves, an absolute badass with really good justification in lore for being this cool. A rarity sometimes in 40k. Also has a funny little moniker known as the Emperor's Executioner, a name he doesn't like, but he got because he's really good at fighting Primarch v Primarch. I think he's had the most Primarch duels, and like he didn't kill many of them, but he didn't die, which is better than you can say about like Fenris Manus. But Leman Russ, much like every Primarch, got scattered by the Chaos Gods. He got blasted all the way to Fenris, a death world that is a giant, just ice cube piece of shit. Place sucks to live, barely inhabitable. People find their way. Specifically, a giant group of space Vikings found their way, and baby Leman crashed into the planet, and a pack of wolves found him. Now, this mother wolf of these thunder wolves, these very powerful creatures like dire wolves from any fantasy series, found this baby Leman, saw her opportunity to be like all of these other wolves from myth, and raised the child as a wolf pup. He got along great, became a wolf, did some killing, real good stuff, till eventually a hunting party led by the Space Vikings found, that's a child, that's just a guy. And so they grabbed up the kid and brought him to their king. And the king was like, damn, that's a kid. I like you. And began to teach Leman how to be a person. It took some struggle because you had a feral child, trying to educate it to be a slightly less feral Viking. It's a process. But eventually, like all Primarchs, grew up real fast, learned real smart, and became a capable warrior and a real cool guy. He got a great liking to drinking and eating and having a jolly good time. He ingratiated himself so well, the king was like, Leman, by the way, I'm gonna name you Leman Russ, Leman of the Russ. And when I die, you're my successor. Which then he promptly died and Leman became the Wolf King. And honestly, Leman I think had the easiest like baby Primarch to ruler of their homeworld, like through line, out of every other Primarch, because a lot of them like struggled and toiled through wars, fought, psychic murder hornets, raised their city out of slavery, and he just got thumbs up by a king. I think the only one you could ever say that to is like Gilliman as well, because he just was adopted by royalty. But eventually all this wolf partying had to come to an end because the Emperor found him. He came on down, did an Odin, and dressed himself up as like just a guy, and challenged Leman Russ to a set of trials. Now, Leman got to pick these trials. So first thing he picked, drinking. And he drank the Emperor out of house and home. He drank all of the Fenrisian ale off of Fenris. Real impressive. The Emperor lost handily. And then next challenge, eating. He out-ate the Emperor utterly and completely. Which then, there's many sources for this, so I don't actually know how this went down. There's some sources saying the Emperor got up, revealed himself, and chewed out Leman for being an asshole drunkard who just cares about partying. There's other parts where Leman is like, hey, now we fight, stranger. Oh shit, you're big and golden. I don't actually know which one happened. There's a lot of conflicting information. I like the one where the Emperor threw a tantrum because that's kind of in character. He didn't just chew out Leman for acting that way, he chewed him out because he lost. And then they dueled. Regardless, that happened. And another conflicting points, lore changed a bit later, they fought for a good few hours, until eventually Leman got a really powerful power fist hit right to the face, knocked his ass flat on the ground unconscious. When he eventually woke up, he immediately got up, kneeled down, swore fealty to the Emperor, said he would serve him in any way, giant smile on his face, it was like broken nose and like a broken tooth. And that's Leman in a nutshell. This man gets in a lot of scrapes, but he is loyal. He will stick by your side regardless. If you can prove yourself that you're also a badass and deserving of respect, undying loyalty. And he is honestly probably the most loyal servant of the Emperor in general. Like, so loyal that he was noted by multiple people, including the Emperor, that he was the one that had no chance of ever turning traitor. And even Guilliman was like, if I had an army of just me and Leman, like, we would clear any opponent. But Leman Russ got involved in the Great Crusade, which he took to real well, because he got to fight a lot of shit. And Leman had this fun tactic of heavy melee, run in head first, screaming, chopping things down into berserker rage. Great time. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that sounds a lot like the World Eaters. They're different, I swear, because while the World Eaters do the same tactics, there is zero thought going through their heads. Not a brain cell firing. The Space Wolves actually have tactics and strategies and loyalty to their brothers, and the main difference between Leman and Angron is Leman actually liked his kids and was sad if they died. However, he did have one flaw with his battle strategies, that he was real dedicated to just murdering the enemies of the Emperor. He would want to systematically destroy all opposition before leading any big strike. This annoyed a lot of the other Primarchs as like, come on, we gotta speed up the timetable. We could do a surgical strike on the leader, take down the whole operation. He's like, no. There's an army, so I'm gonna charge it. And the main thing, this loyalty to the Emperor, got him the moniker the Emperor's Executioner, because he was the one the Emperor knew 100% he could trust with the worst of the worst tasks. Primarily dealing with other Primarchs, and just dealing with any sort of traitor stuff in general. And I will get ahead of this real quick. There is no real proof that Leman Russ killed the two missing Primarchs. There's nothing really there. I've seen this being talked about. He's the obvious candidate of like, who killed the two traitor Primarchs before all the other stuff? Not Leman. There's no direct text evidence. If there is somewhere, quote it at me. I'll correct it. But regardless, I'm gonna get into that subject later. I have a really fun video idea going through all the lore we have on the missing Primarchs. But other than that, we got the Horus heresy. And I have an idea here. Instead of just telling you his events during the Horus heresy, I'll do it in a different way, more fitting to Leman. This guy liked his Primarch duels, and he had 4 major ones. So I'm gonna go into them chronologically. I think I have them in order. At least the first 2 I'm a little iffy on. But I'll go through his events during the Horus heresy through the fights he got into. And the first one we're gonna get into is the start of the rivalry between the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels. His duel with Lionel Johnson. So, him and Lionel Johnson, they were both leading a campaign against this traitor world, this world known as Duel. And on this world, there was a pretty shitty king, like an asshole tyrant, who one day, over the radio, called Leman Russ a pussy. And Leman would not take this sitting down. He was pissed off. His honor besmirched. He swore an oath, a Fenrisian oath, that he would cut this man down. And they went on their war campaign. And like I mentioned earlier, Leman Russ was killing all the opposition, crushing their armies. And Lionel Johnson was getting really impatient, because dude's a duelist, also cares about honor, but also is like a really good military strategist, and is like, this is really inefficient. The Lion led a surgical precision strike right into the castle and killed the tyrant himself, which Leman, right when he found out about it, confronted his brother. Massively pissed. Dude was fuming. And words were exchanged. Leman said some insults. The Lion was a massive jackass, because he is a jackass. And Leman threw a punch, and they started absolutely dueling it out. And this fight lasted for a good fucking while. It took a bit. Eventually, they tackled each other off the castle, fell really far down, right into the ground below, and laid on their backs, and Leman started fucking laughing. Because he immediately realized, this is dumb, what we've been doing. This is like childish. We're 2 brothers bickering and wrestling after a disagreement. This is hilarious. And Lionel Johnson was like, you are attacking my honor. And asked him, do you yield? Which Leman laughed harder. He's like, oh, you're taking it seriously? Dude, this was just like a brotherly thing. And Lionel Johnson punched him in the face, knocking him out cold. Which, when he woke up, he's like, bit lame, but all right, whatever, I got beat. And they went on their ways. Kind of, there's like a rivalry and a kind of bit of a friendship. From what I've read, they seem to patch their relationship slightly, but they're also like, that one time though. And now, to commemorate this motion, the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves, every like, I think century or so, will actually recreate this duel by getting their two like best champions and have them just duke it out for a while to see who wins. That's how you do a chapter rivalry. That's respectable. Now, next up we have Leman Russ versus Angron. Now, there's a lot of similarities between these two, which Leman saw. And during a campaign, Leman decided, hey, I need to have a talking to Angron because he's being kind of a douche. And when he went to go talk to him, he was, telling him, hey, you're really headstrong, rushing in. You're kind of like not thinking at all. You just want to kind of single-handedly duel your combat. And Angron was absolutely pissed off because he always was. That's his base state. And more words were exchanged. Insults were thrown until eventually Angron said, like, I would have been a more honorable warrior if I didn't have my butcher's nails installed. Though, that probably would have given me the foresight to go into the Emperor's throne room and kill the bastard myself. Absolute fighting words to Leman, because you don't talk bad about the Emperor in front of him. And a sword was drawn, they started beating the shit out of each other. Now, in this fight, Leman wanted to prove a point. He had a lesson to teach Angron. And this lesson was, you gotta think. You can't just berserker rage into something. It's not gonna fix every battle. So during this fight as well, the Space Wolves and the World Eaters started also killing each other. And pre-heresy, by the way. They fought. Leman, eventually, he did actually get beaten by Angron in single combat. However, the Space Wolves were able to maneuver and surround and subdue Angron. So technically they won the battle. But also, according to the World Eaters won. Because they both walked away from the battlefield being like, yes, I've won. I've done my job. Angron being, I beat up Leman and I killed more of his boys. And Leman being, I taught Angron a valuable lesson today. Nothing was fucking learned. And now going into the heresy itself, we have the burning of Prospero and Leman's fight with Magnus. Now, I talked about the burning of Prospero in Magnus's video, go watch that, but quick little clip notes. The burning of Prospero, Magnus did a big fucky wucky when he destroyed the psychic protection on Terra. Big E, pissed off, sent Leman to go bring back Magnus in chains. Horus intercepted, said, hey, Big E wants you to kill Magnus instead. So Leman goes in and still kind of the bro he is despite not liking Magnus. They have a massive animosity because of how fucking flaky Magnus is when he gets a little like whisper that some psychic lores on the next planet, he'll just ditch a battle. Or the fact that Magnus and his boys are so fucking arrogant and just sorcery heavy. They really love their psychic powers, flagrant disregard for the danger, and also have little familiars that they have like as their little teachers. They're just demons. They have Tzeentch demons hanging out with them. Like, there's a lot of reasons he was upset with Magnus in general. But when he went there, he was trying to call Magnus, constantly saying, hey, just want to talk to you, want to clear things up. He didn't even go there wanting to kill Magnus. He thought the order was stupid. And the problem was Magnus wasn't responding at all. Partially because Magnus disabled the communications, and there was a Tzeentch demon kind of messing with things. So eventually, he went and actually attacked Prospero, and they fought, where Magnus punched out one of Leman's hearts. Leman Russ backbreakered Magnus in the glorious piece of art we have, and Magnus disappeared, making his call to Tzeentch and leaving a pretty bad taste in Leman's mouth. Also because like the last words that Leman heard from Magnus during this fight was, you are a sword in the wrong hands, you've severed an innocent neck today. So this fight, like, there's no winning for Leman here. He felt really shitty. There's also a possible theory I read somewhere that he might have been psychically imparted the knowledge that Magnus really did feel like he fucked up and was really sorry during this fight. which also kind of shows why he was so sullen in the aftermath, but I don't know how canon that is. And then, last but not least, we have Leman's face-to-face showdown with Horus himself, right before the Siege of Terra. Now, Leman, after all the events, the burning of Prospero, the drop site massacre, anything doing with Istvan III, was fuming pissed at Horus. And against the Emperor's wishes, he decided, I'm gonna go on a suicide mission and kill Horus. And he picked up a gift he received earlier, the Spear of Russ, or Gungnir, a spear handcrafted by the Emperor, which was actually a twin weapon, the other weapon being the Apollyon Spear in the hands of Constantine Valdor. Both these spears have this fun little ability that are swapped between each. The Apollyon Spear, when killing somebody, you are transferred all the memories of the person you've killed. And the Spear of Russ, when you kill someone and like give that final blow, they are immediately transferred all of the user's memories. So, fun little detail about that. And this is a really long story involving a spirit quest with multiple trials on Fenris, the Alpha Legion being around, but whatever. Eventually, he got a showdown with Horus, and they fought. Now, Leman almost got the kill, but like twice, he hesitated slightly, because he really liked Horus. He was his brother, he loved his brother, and he didn't like what was happening. And he missed like a perfect impaling strike with the Spear of Russ, which honestly would have been a really major event if all of the memories of Leman hit Horus, because he probably would have given up there and know that his like campaign against the Emperor was wrong. But didn't happen. And when he missed that strike, Horus was able to get his own hits in and almost killed Leman Russ, to where he had to get dragged away by a bunch of space wolves like last second. And eventually he had to get very quickly recovered and healed up before finally getting his way to the Siege of Terra, like right around the end of it, like helping clear most of the traitors out, but missing the moment where the Emperor died. And honestly, that's kind of the end of Leman's story. The only major thing that happens is a bit after Guilliman makes his Codex Astartes, his big space book of tactics, and separating the legions into smaller chapters, which Russ thought was stupid and ignored it. He held a giant feast on Fenris, gave a giant speech at the end of it, saying, my sons, I'm leaving, but one day I'll be back. I'll be back for the final fight, regardless of what holds me, be it death or any other thing. I will come back for a final fight, the wolf time. Because everything had to be prefixed with wolf. And he pulled a Corvus Corax and ran into the warp, where he is probably just fighting demons all day, to be honest. Which the Space Wolves now constantly set out on little raiding parties to go find Leman. They found little traces that he's alive though. The last one being in a temple to Horus, they found his armor, which seemed to be discarded. So most likely there is a giant 9-foot tall naked Viking killing demons in the warp. What is more Leman Russ than that? And yeah, that's Leman Russ. I think he's a very fun character. He's super well written. I'm actually working through his Primarch book right now, like in preparation for this video. I'm liking it so far. Leman is cool. I like this guy. But yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and see ya.